Welcome back inside the Now Morning Show. We continue to celebrate International Women's Day here on TTT and, of course, on the Now Morning Show. This morning, I have the privilege and the honor of being joined by Senator the Honorable Renuka Sagramsingh-Sooklal, Minister in the Ministry of Legal Affairs, Lorraine Heath, Treasurer at the PNM National Women's League, and Kimberly Small, Councillor for Barataria. Good morning, ladies, and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you very much.
All right, where do we begin? I want to start with you, Ms. Heath, if you don't mind. Can you just tell me, firstly, what is the role of the PNM National Women's League?
Well, our role is defined by our history. The PNM Women's League came about in recognition by Dr. Eric Williams for the lack thereof women in the political folds, in the hierarchy in the parliament and in the party. He recognized the role women play in communities, villages, in their homes. Women were in control everywhere. And he understood women would actually contribute to the success of the People's National Movement and how successful he would be in changing the dynamics of politics in Trinidad and Tobago. So the Women's League were born from his observance, his wisdom, that, listen, if you don't have the women, the PNM will lack the backbone, as it is said, and needed for development of Trinidad and Tobago.
So at the end of the day, the women in charge of the country is what it boils down to. Is that the women are the ones, the household, exactly, the household, the country, everything. And it definitely forces us to rethink, I mean, how we look at the role women play, right? So
That's right.
I understand that Dr. Eric Williams would have said that and would have done that and put that in place. And over the years, we've seen women come through the ranks. I mean, you ladies are testament to that and have been able to benefit from it. Tell me a little bit about your experience, Senator.
Well, you know, just to springboard, and first to begin with, I want to thank you all for having us this morning.
Definitely.
And of course, a happy International Women's Day to women, regionally, internationally, and of course, Trinidad and Tobago. You know, my experience, I think, you know, just springboarding off of what Lorraine has said, if we look, because we are representing, I'm not in the capacity of a minister, but as a member of the PNM's National Women's League. As Lorraine would have indicated, I mean, in 1956, January 1956, we have the establishment of the People's National Movement, and by May, Dr. Eric Williams created the National Women's League. And what we had is that the post and the position of the Lady Vice Chair was created. And that post, of course, was Isabel Tichet, our First Lady Vice Chair of the people of the National Women's League. Currently, it's Ms. Camille Robinson-Regis. And why I'm mentioning now Ms. Robinson-Regis, because you have asked me about my experience, we are so blessed in the PNM, and more so in the Women's League, to have persons like Ms. Robinson-Regis, Lisa Morris-Julian, who's a member, my sisters who sit at my side, you know, who all equally contribute to assisting each other. It's a sisterhood, and this is not just old talk. This is where we're able to come together, we're able to bounce ideas out of each other, we're able to support each other, because fundamentally that is one of the principles and one of the core values of the PNM's Women's League. Further to that, you know, when the PNM's Women's League was created, what was also critical was that women should always have a place at the decision-making table. And we have seen that, and that has been my experience in entering into politics, where, of course, I can be mentored by so many women in the House of Representatives, Senate, you know, so we are indeed blessed. And my experience so far has really been one where, you know, I'm privileged to sit at the side and serve at the side of women throughout the length and breadth of the party.
Councillor, tell me, what inspired you to even get into politics, to get into service?
To get into service? Well, I was always very involved within my community, and it's a little story.
I mean, we here for the story?
So I was always very, very involved within my community, doing different things. I used to teach First Communion, teach children to read, just different things, part of the Barataria community youth group, those sorts of things. And one day, now it was International Women's Day, but the person that was involved, that kind of was the person that I followed behind. It was a male.
That's
so,
fine.
And you know, I quickly I called him and I asked him to assist us or something, and he did it so quickly. And I have to mention him. His name is Punal Bruno, right? And he's the past councillor for Barataria. He died sadly, and he did it so quickly. And then what he also did is that my mother was sick, and I remember him coming month after month and asking how she doing, those sorts of things. I don't want to get emotional because I get emotional when I speak about it, and that kind of inspired me because I realized it's not just about okay, we're doing a job and we're getting a job done. It's about caring for people and getting involved and knowing the different persons, knowing their names, knowing who they are, knowing their stories. Because every time he would pass, he would remember, this is Cheryl Small's house and this is what she went through. How is she doing? And from that, you know, that kind of guided me into wanting to serve my community and wanting to serve my community at a higher level.
Would you say it's a difficult task to keep all those things in check? Because I am in your community is filled with lots and lots of people. Some who like you, some who don't like you, some who down for the party, who not for the party, some who not interested in party but they need help.
I wouldn't say that it's a huge task. It's a gigantic task. It's not difficult once you love service of the people, and as we are mentioning International Women's Day, once you have a team and a team to support you, because it's not a one-person job. A lot of people look at it and they say, well, this is the minister or this is the councillor, this is the individual, but we have great support. We have support within the PNM, and then we have support within our community. We have supportive teams. As we have the Women's League, I have a team of sisters. So if I have something within my community, I would get support in attendance, I would get support in the planning, I would get support in guidance, mentorship. So it's not a one-person job.
Understood.
And you definitely get, once you have the assistance, it is, I could say it's easy like pie.
With the right team, right?
With the right
And speaking of the right team, you know, tell me some of the challenges that the National Women's League would have had to overcome in terms of, you know, things that would have been brought to the table, challenges that you had to come to the sisters and say, how are we going to deal with this? How are we going to get through this and get over this?
Historically, women have always faced challenges. Like you just mentioned, it's automatic. Sorry, when you look at a woman in politics, how do you cope? How hard is it? And it's the same question is not usually equally asked of the men. The challenge has always been that we have to work harder to be respected in our positions. We have to ensure that our delivery is specific and meet the targeted group. And we have overcome those challenges in the PNM, as mentioned by Renuka. Is Elizabeth Tishay. First parliamentarian, she faced challenges. However, with the support of the women in the PNM, the vanguard of the party, not only specifically focused on the political leader, but on the affairs of women, supported her. And through her leadership, we became one of the strongest forces, not only for the party, not only nationally, but regionally. We are renowned, being part of our organization, that's 67-year-old. We are testament that how strong we are.
Of course.
Can you not see our lovely faces?
Most definitely.
Yes.
You know, I am also interested in finding out, you work in the Ministry of Legal Affairs. I mean,
And
aside
Office of
from
the Attorney
and Office of the
General,
Attorney General, right? And we know that in law, it tends to be predominantly men for decades. It's been that way.
Right.
Your journey coming up as a lawyer and then, you know, elevating to this position currently, I mean, there must have been things that you've had to say. The same thing you're talking about, you know, overcoming those obstacles and some of those hurdles. What are some of those hurdles that you had to overcome? Besides the ones that the obvious ones you know about where, you know, we talk about women in the workplace and that kind of thing. But what's some of these specific ones that are unique to you?
Well, I mean, I was blessed because my practice started off in a chamber with Pamela Elder, Senior Counsel. And anyone who knows of Senior, I mean, that's one of the strongest women you can find at the criminal bar of Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, no doubt I would have engaged into that sphere of law, crim. But having Senior as a mentor, people like senior Mrs. Elder, of course, Dina Sita Hall, Sophia Choate, some of these women had already started breaking down that glass ceiling for us, where they were earning the respect of their counterparts, where they were holding their own. And I would say that by the time I got into the dance, even though no doubt, I mean, you would face your challenges. For me personally, I never really paid attention to gender because I just had this strong mentor. Pamela, in the form of Mrs. Elder, who was just going into the courtroom, mashing up in cross-examination, just holding her own, earning the respect of, so I was not focused on what my limitations were. No doubt there were, because of course you would walk into a courtroom, especially in criminal courts in Trinidad and Tobago, predominantly men. But as I said, if there's any specific challenge that I can speak to, I would really be telling an untruth. And I know it is because of the role that our seniors in the practice had already, you know, the track that they, or that blazing that trail for us as new and younger attorneys to be able to go through. So I think we're run through. So we're fortunate. But no doubt there would have been challenges, and challenges, of course, managing family life. Sometimes because I was a young mother entering into practice with 2 little babies, and of course the law is a jealous mistress. Lorraine is an attorney at law as well, and you know that it requires a lot of your time, but that's where support comes in, and that is where your family comes in. On that note, I want to wish my husband a happy birthday. Today is his birthday, by the way.
We have birthday segment next, so we'll take his name and make sure give him a proper happy birthday. But ladies, before we wrap up, though, I would love for you all to be able to give some advice to young women who may be looking on, interested in the field of service, in the field of law, and just what advice would you give them on this International Women's Day? Let's start with you, Lorraine, and we'll come across.
Young women in Trinidad and Tobago, we need each other. We need organizations, institutions, groups that recognize the challenges we face. We have testimonies that we can tell that will guide you through the paths that we have already tread. Our ancestors, our aunts, our mothers have went through in politics. In the PNM's Women's League, we have women who can lead you, not only just by speaking, but hold your hand, understand and offer compassion. That is what the Women's League, one of its objectives, is to actually attract women, not only professionally or not only within our communities, but who have a say, who wants to contribute. You don't have to go to Parliament to contribute. You are in the public sector, you are an entrepreneur. You can contribute, but we are here to support you, and we are here to build a better nation through the PNM's Women's League.
Kimberly?
So the advice that I would give to young persons interested in service, and especially young females, so I just want to add to what she's saying. So basically, if this is something that you're interested in, and you say shoot for the stars and you'll fall on the clouds, you can definitely do that. And for young women especially, it's not a competition. We're here to empower each other, to fix each other's crowns. So if it is that you're interested in this type of field in service, you look for the mentors, you look for the guidance. And once you get that, you know, it will be an ease once you have somebody guiding you, especially as females. And again, it's not a competition. We're all here. We can work together. You know, there's space for every single one of us. So that's what I want to give up.
Well, what I would say to the young women of Trinidad and Tobago is that in the PNM, there's a place and a space for every single one of us. Our policies transcends race, it transcends ethnicity. And I can say, when we look at from 1956, where to Dr. Eric Williams, to Mr. Patrick Manning, to our current Prime Minister, the PNM creates an enabling space for women of every creed and every race who's seriously interested in stepping forward, taking social responsibility and service. And my simple words to every single young woman or woman looking on is that at the People's National Movement, there is a place and there's a space for every single one of us. We must be willing to take that social responsibility, step forward and join us. Well,
ladies, on that note, let me wish you again a happy International Women's Day, and thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having us.
Not a problem. All right, guys, stay tuned. It's the Now Morning Show. We take a quick break and we come back and celebrate birthdays, including your husbands.